Welcome to episode 3 of my real estate podcast. My name is Andres Usma, realtor with Blue Forest Realty here in London, Ontario. We're going to be talking about offers. So attention home buyers, this is especially for you. We're going to talk about the process for home buying, most specifically the offer process. What happens with offers? Can you put conditions? What kind of conditions can you put? What kind of numbers we're looking at? What's a deposit? So we're going to talk about, I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible, not too long like some of the other episodes that we have had. So I'm going to run some of the numbers and jump into them immediately. So we're going to run some examples and then I'll be more than happy to answer your questions in the description below. Feel free to contact me anytime. So let's get right into it. We're gonna look at this example of a potential buyer that likes a property that is listed, as you see right here, for $800,000. Yes, there is room for negotiation. We're in a market where, let's call it a buyer's market. So the buyer's market allows you to do some negotiating with the seller. Say that you're able to negotiate back and forth and you come to an agreement of $780,000. Lovely property, you fell in love with it. Okay, fantastic. We can really dive into it. So what kind of offer you're gonna do? So say that you've been approved for that amount. It's step number one. Remember that mortgage pre-approval first before you actually go out and do any home search or any shopping around. Number one, get a pre-approved for a mortgage. I can recommend some mortgage brokers for you. I'll be more than happy to give you a name for a mortgage broker. At the same time, you can go to your bank if you want to and basically get a pre-approval so you would know for sure how much you'll be able to afford. That being said, you have already done that process. You did the search. And we found a property. We love it, right? $800,000, what it listed at. We offer $780,000. We go back and forth a few times. And yes, the offer was accepted. So that's how the process begins. We put an offer first. That's your first intention. And you write all the things that you want in the offer, you as a buyer. And you're going to send that to the seller. So remember, it's a give and take. It's a back and forth. It's a negotiation. It doesn't mean that your offer is going to get accepted immediately. Absolutely not. Maybe it is the case. Rare is the occasion where sellers will accept an offer immediately when it's too low, right? I mean, sometimes the seller wants to sell it very quickly. So you try to gauge, us realtors, is what we try to gauge the interest and how are sellers really motivated to sell the property. Some people are just saying, no, I want a specific number. And if I don't get the number, we're not really going to negotiate. So anyway, offer price $780,000. Say that you have a deposit or you're going to put a deposit of $10,000. So the deposit is an act of good faith. So you're basically telling the seller, Mr. Seller, this is my offer. And because I'm serious about it, if you accept this offer, I'll give you $10,000. Deposits, it doesn't mean that you're going to give cash or a check to the seller himself, herself. No, absolutely not. We work as a real estate agent. We work through our brokerages, through our offices. They have set up what's called a trust account. Those deposits go only and exclusively to that trust account. In very rare occasions, offers on paper have specific accounts where they go to maybe perhaps the trust account for a lawyer. So those specific things may be set up separately in what's called a schedule, which is a document that is attached to the agreement of purchase and sale. So 9 times out of 10, most cases is going to be the trust account of the listing brokerages. So you produce that deposit amount. So that's basically, I'm serious about this. If you accept this offer, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, I'm going to give you $10,000. So here we go. We're going to give a deposit of $10,000. Well, you already talked to your mortgage broker, and you already know that according to your credit profile, you may require a specific amount. For the purposes of this example, I'm going to use 10% as a down payment. Okay? So the down payment, the minimum right now, as of July 2026, the minimum amount is 5%. We used to see a few years ago 0% down payment, which again, that created kind of a crazy thing a few years back. So now the minimum is 5%. But again, for the purposes of this example, I'm going to use 10%. Your mortgage broker, depending on your credit profile, may require more or may require less. You may have even more money saved. So typically that down payment has to be in an account, some kind of savings account. I'm not a mortgage broker. I'm not a mortgage specialist to speak about this. And this is not financial advice. But when you speak with your mortgage broker, they will be able to tell you where is the money have to be located, and it has to be readily available, especially for your closing. So again, for the purposes of the example, we put an offer of $780,000. We have a deposit of $10,000 that you actually sent it to the listing brokerages of $10,000. The deposit is part of the down payment. It doesn't mean that I have to give more money on top of my down payment. Say that I have $80,000 saved, which is, close enough to the $78,000 that we're using in this example. It doesn't mean that I'm going to have to bring $10,000 on top of that. No, the deposit is part of the down payment. And then your lawyer on closing will produce what's called a statement of adjustments. Basically is a sheet, a one-pager that explains the breakdown of all those numbers. That being said, we know that it's $78,000, the down payment. Yes, I have it saved. I'm the buyer. We have it saved in a savings account. No problem. I take the deposit amount of $10,000. I made the deposit. We are in the offer right now. Our offer got accepted. We got the deposit, and now we wait. So it could be, again, everything in an offer can be negotiated, not just price. We just mentioned so far that it is the price that is being negotiated. Anything can be negotiated. I've had the opportunity to negotiate in an offer furniture, a aquarium, right? I had and probably other realtors can share information of some of the crazy things that people negotiate. In my experience, I do not recommend doing that, honestly, or on paper. That should be done separately, and at times can be negotiated through cash or however else you want to do it, rather than put it in the offer. And the reason why is lenders don't like that. Lenders basically lenders meaning banks or whoever is going to give you the money for the mortgage, they don't want to see any things besides furniture. Yeah, that may be okay, but any other things into the price of the offer is not something that the lenders are looking for. That being said, back to the topic of what can be negotiated. Yes, everything, including dates. So that's another piece of the puzzle. You want to make sure that you negotiate. Let's say that your lender, your mortgage broker said you are not going to be able to close any sooner than 30 days or any sooner than 60 days. It may be the case, let's say that you're a tenant. Well, you have not given your 60 days notice to your landlord. You have to give 60 days notice, which means that you have to make sure that your closing date falls within that specific time. Otherwise, you'll be paying rent and you'll also be paying your mortgage for your house. So those things can be also negotiated. Dates can be negotiated, and the negotiation goes back and forth, not only in your favor as a buyer. It can be also in the seller's favor. So let's see. No, as a seller, it is more convenient for me to sell within the next 45 days or so. So can we do that? Can we do 45 days? And then you as a buyer will say, yeah or nay. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Let's say that the day of closing comes, we're ready to go. The mortgage documents have been produced, and through your mortgage broker, you speak to them, and then you start signing documents at the lawyer's office a few days before the closing, just to know exactly what the numbers are going to be. So here we go. So the mortgage amount, the amount that you are gonna get, that is gonna be lent to you, is gonna be 702. And again, this is specifically regarding this scenario, the mortgage amount. So 702 means the down payment of 10% that you're planning of, taking out of your savings account, your own money. The deposit, again, is part of that down payment, okay? And you already gave a portion of your down payment, being the 10,000. So the offer price, or the final price of the purchase, is 780,000. So down payment minus the offer price, or the final price, or purchase price rather, 702 is that's the mortgage amount that your monthly payments or your mortgage payments are going to be calculated on. So what happens on the day of closing? Your lawyer is going to say, okay, please make sure that you bring $68,000, because $68,000 is your down payment minus the 10,000 you already gave, okay? But hold on. Are you a first-time home buyer? The reason why I have LTT here, that stands for land transfer tax. So land transfer tax, and we talked about this in the previous episode, if you are a home buyer and you are not a first-time home buyer, then you have to pay land transfer tax. The land transfer tax here in Ontario, it has a specific calculation, and I don't have it in front of me. But again, make sure that you take a look at my previous episode where I explained the land transfer tax. So that could be an amount that you also have to bring to the table on day of closing. So make sure that you know what that amount is from the get-go, from the very beginning. You would know if you're looking for an $800,000 property, how much is going to be the land transfer tax. Keep that in mind. So, and again, I put it here as a question mark because perhaps you're going to have an incentive. Depending on the amount, you may have an incentive, or a rebate rather, for the land transfer tax as a first-time home buyer, only as a first-time home buyer. That being said, that's another amount that you have to account for the closing. And also the closing fees, so basically the lawyer fees, depending on how much work it requires, your lawyer will let you know what those fees are. And again, you can call any office and lawyers will give you a ballpark of how much that's going to be. Excuse me. Lenders typically calculate about 1 to 1.5% of the purchase price for closing fees. That may be a little bit high because 1% of this purchase price, for example, it will be close to $8,000. And closing fees may not necessarily be that high for lawyer fees. It could be a little bit lower, but again, keep those numbers in mind. So from beginning to end, you get pre-approved first, mortgage pre-approval first, then you start your home search with a realtor like myself. We go around, we'll take a look at properties. We fell in love with one property. We put in an offer. We negotiate, right? You may be a first-time home buyer, so you may receive a rebate of up to $4,000 for land transfer tax. You have to have money saved, of course, and your mortgage broker will let you know exactly how to manage those monies from now until closing to make sure that you don't make any mistakes or there's any type of hiccups. We go negotiate back and forth. We come to a price. That price happens to be $780,000. We got an offer accepted. We do the deposit. We give the deposit of $10,000 in this case. And then we start doing, if it's a conditional offer, and then this is the next part 2 of this episode, which is, okay, what type of offer we're looking at. When you hear the word cash offer, that's exactly pretty much what it means. It's a cash offer. It's a clean offer, meaning that there's no type of conditions tying up the offer or tying up the purchase process. It's basically a straight purchase. I happen to win the lottery, and then I have $800,000 available. And I negotiate with the seller and say, hey, I can give you a cash offer, no conditions of any kind. So that's what it's called, a clean offer, a cash offer. So basically, there is no type of conditions. The other side of that is basically a conditional offer. And what's a conditional offer? So in the negotiation, when we go back and forth, when you put in your first offer or your offer to the property, you may have some conditions. I'm going to list and I'm going to show you a list of possible. Some of them are pretty common. Some of them you probably have seen. It doesn't mean that you're going to have all 5 of this in one single offer. Maybe, maybe not. It is very rare to have all these conditions. So I'm going to go one by one very quickly and explain what it means. Number one, financing is the most common one. And that's what a mortgage broker will probably recommend always. Make sure that you have a financing condition. What does that mean? Well, the mortgage broker or the bank said, yeah, I can lend you some money. I can lend you the $800,000. You qualify for that based on your credit profile. However, when you have an offer that is accepted, then that's where it really hits. That's when we really know exactly what the numbers are going to be according to your profile. You send documents, tax returns and all that stuff. You send all the documents to your mortgage broker, to the bank, to make sure that we get approval. In the past, it was common to see about 5 days or so. And again, those are typically 5 business days for that to be completed, for the bank to basically take a look at the offer and say, yeah, you qualify for that, no problem. We can give you the money. Go ahead. You can remove that condition. Nowadays, because there's so much demand, there's a lot going on in the market, lenders are taking a while to respond. So you will see about 8 to 10 business days to have that condition. What does that mean? So that means that from the day of acceptance, say July 1st, plus 10 days down the road, the offer is going to be conditional. So we have the next 10 days to make sure that we get that money, the financing, to make our purchase, right? And after that, we have to remove that condition. Basically tell the sellers, the other party, say, hey, by the way, I was given the money, no problem. I'm removing this condition. We're ready to move forward into the next step. So again, that's the financing condition. Most mortgage brokers will definitely recommend that if you don't have the full amount. If you don't have what we showed here, the entire $800,000 with you, well, you're borrowing money. You're hoping that you can get $780,000. Well, in this case, the mortgage amount is going to be, you're hoping that you get 700 plus dollars, 700,000 borrowed from the bank or your lender. So financing condition, that's anywhere between 5 to 10. Is nowadays looks more like 10 days because again, lenders are taking their time to respond and give you that final confirmation. So the second one, inspection. Are inspections or any of these conditions mandatory? No, they're not mandatory. They're recommended, right? Financing condition definitely is recommended. Just because you heard that you get pre-approved for a specific amount, it doesn't mean that, okay, yeah, I'm going to put a clean offer. Be careful with that. Make sure to speak with your mortgage broker whether or not you could do something like that. Inspection. It is not mandatory. It's always recommended if you feel comfortable. And again, I've seen cases where people are very handy and, they have some of the knowledge to fix things around the house. If it's cosmetic, if it's nothing too serious, some plumbing or things like that, okay, that's completely fine. They can move forward without a condition of inspection. A condition of inspection, that's exactly what it is. I want to inspect the house. I want to take a look at the property with a professional certified inspector. How much is that going to cost me? Well, that's probably going to be your upfront cost because you have to pay the home inspector. anywhere between 400 up to 550 or so. I want to say maybe, let's round it up to 500. And again, to the home inspectors out there that are watching, if your numbers are different, apologize. But that's from some of the numbers that I've seen. Anywhere between 400 to 500. It could be a little bit more depending on the size of the house. If it's a smaller apartment, it may be a little bit lower. So it all depends. So that's the cost that it will be for an inspector. And again, what do? Their job is to find something wrong with the house. And whether it's small or big, that's their job. Let them do their job. Let them navigate the property. Take a look closely at all the things that need to be taken a look at, right? The mechanical, electrical, and even though they may not be completely experts on absolutely every single item in the list, they know a lot. They know a lot more than you and I when it comes to inspecting homes. So just let them do their job, and exactly, and then we will be able to assess the severity, okay, this is something serious. This is not as serious as we originally thought. And then it could be a point of perhaps, not always, and I do not recommend this, of further negotiation. Say that we found an issue with the window. Oh, there's a window that is broken, right? And I'm pointing here because I have a window next to me. So say that it's broken. One of the glass panes is broken. You can negotiate with the seller and negotiate or ask the seller to have that repaired right before closing. So that's another step that we go into what's called an amendment on the agreement of purchase and sale to make sure that that is properly repaired. Things like that. We can go back and forth with many other examples, but for the purposes of this episode, condition on an offer, it could be financing, is very common to see that. Inspection is also pretty common. Back in the COVID era, so we're talking 2020, 21, even into 22, we saw a spike of just properties being sold here in London. We saw an influx of buyers from Toronto that brought, cash, and just basically the whole work from home culture, where they had high paying jobs in the GTA and they could work from home here in London. So we saw a spike. What happened? A lot of cash offers, no inspection, no conditions. So people didn't do inspections, and there was issues with properties that found problems. So again, in this type of market, in the buyer's market, is more common to see inspections. They're not mandatory, always recommended. How long does an inspection typically take? Typically takes an average about 2, maximum 3 hours. It depends on the size of the property. If it's a pretty big property, if it's a big house, double car garage, finished basement, 4+ bedrooms, 3+ bathrooms. So the inspector will take its time to make sure, because they go into the attic, they want to make sure how much insulation is in the attic, they want to take a closer look at the condition of the roof, especially if it's in the summertime, when there's no snow and you're able to see condition of the roof. So that's an example right there. Anywhere between 2 to 3 hours. Hours is on the high side. It's more like 2 hours. So that's kind of the cost, average cost, and the time that it will take. Again, the inspection time, you can ask, hey, within the next 5 days, we're going to book an appointment to do the inspection with a certified inspector. And again, all those conditions are written down in the schedule of the agreement of purchase and sale. The next 3 are less common to see, with the exception of the status certificate. Typically, you see that when you're purchasing a condominium. So condominiums are, they are, I don't know the specific word for that. So basically, they are not built, but the structure, and I'm not saying about the physical structure, but the financial structure of a condominium is basically a corporation. So they create what's called a condo corporation, and they collect the condo fees, right? The fees from the owners. They put it into a reserve fund, and that reserve fund typically serves the purpose to for any type of expenses that the condominium as a corporation would incur, such as maintenance of the grounds, the common area. Maybe if we're talking townhouses, maybe it's been 20 plus years since it was built, it requires new shingles for the roof throughout the condominium. So all those costs go or basically are absorbed by the reserve fund, and is monies that is collected through condo fees. So that being said, the status certificate basically is a document. It's a pretty lengthy document that condo corporations will reproduce, and then the lawyer, your lawyer, will take a closer look, and they will do what's called a review. So that's a document that it may take up to 10 calendar days to reproduce, and that's typically your longest condition. It's always been kind of the longest condition, and because it's 10 calendar days, you will see in documents in your offer, it's common to see 12 to 15 days by the time that is delivered, by the time that is reviewed by your lawyer. So it could take a few couple of hours by your lawyer just basically taking a look at the document, and the document basically explains the owner of this unit has paid on time their condo fees, no issues at all. The overall health, financial health, and any type of issues. They explain the type of what they're forecasting. So we're forecasting that there's going to be an increase in condo fees. This is going to happen. This may not happen. So basically, it's a breakdown of everything that may or may, again, is going to be forecast towards the future as far that may affect the corporation, the condominium. So that's a document that definitely you want to have your lawyer review. Make sure that you include that condition. Some folks are flexible and take risks, and they say, no, it's okay. We have seen quite a bit of sales recently in this complex, so I'm confident that the status certificate will be fine. Be careful, right? Because there's sections and parts of the document itself that are very specific to the unit. Just because there's been recent sales, it doesn't mean, the condition, the financial condition, or the health of the condo corporation is fine. So I'm not gonna tie up my deal with a condition of status certificate review. So be careful with that, and let's move on. So the other two that we see here, number 3, number 4, lawyer review. Besides the status certificate, which happens again for condo corporation, a lawyer review basically happens in most cases when you're purchasing a brand new property, newly built property. Why? Because the documents in which, or the agreement of purchase and sale in which those offers are written, they have been created in what's called builder forms. So the builder forms, they hire their own lawyers, and they want to make sure that they are covered and they're protected, and they have very specific clauses into their agreement of purchase and sale, their own forms. So you want to make sure that a lawyer review, we can review as realtors a lot of the jargon, legal jargon, but again, we're not lawyers, so we cannot provide that legal advice. It's always best to have the lawyer review those documents and reason why. And again, that could be a condition that could be anywhere between 3 to 4 business days, give or take, just to make sure that your lawyer, and speak to your lawyer and how long it would take for them to review. I've seen documents, agreement of purchase and sale, that have been 100 plus pages. So it could be pretty lengthy process. Not process, but the documents that need to be reviewed can be quite long. So that typically happens for brand new construction. And the other one that is not as common, but say you are a buyer and you have a house to sell. And let's say my example, I own my house. Before I go somewhere else, I would need to sell my house first. But I can do an offer. And again, in parentheses there, it says escape clause. I'll get into that in just a minute. So before I move to my next purchase, I do an offer with condition of financing. Say I'm not gonna do an inspection, so I'm gonna skip that. It's not a condominium, so I'm not gonna have this. It's not a brand new construction, so I'm not gonna have. So I'm only gonna have this one here, financing condition, and I'm going to do the sale of property. And again, I'm just speaking for myself what I'm going to do in this particular scenario. So I'm going to do financing and sale of property. I need to sell this property, so I'll tell the seller, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, by the way, here's an offer. I need to sell my house. Please allow me 30 days, 40 days, 20 days, right? So again, that's another piece of the puzzle that can be negotiated. The sellers may say, wow, that's pretty long. If you think you can sell your property within the next 30 days, I'm a little bit hesitant in accepting that offer, or that's with that specific condition. Well, I cannot remove this condition. I need to sell the property. What happens if I don't sell it? I end up owning two properties, right? And I'm financially not gonna be able to do it. So the reason why you see the sale of property as one of the conditions, right? And some people may feel hesitant. It all depends on how it is written up. That condition needs to be properly written to make sure that it is for the benefit of the buyer and also for the benefit of the seller. What do you mean the benefit of the seller? Well, that's the reason why you have what's called a escape clause, and it's basically how it sounds: escape, to escape from the deal. So you are asking to wait for 30 days, wait for me as a buyer for 30 days until I sell my property before I purchase yours. Everything else is fine. Financing condition, yeah, I was accepted. Everything was fine. So I removed that condition. Just wait for me until I sell my property. And to be fair with you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm going to give you the opportunity to continue promoting your property, continue marketing your property for sale. You can continue on, but only just if you're considering an other offer, if you're contemplating accepting a second or a third offer that comes, days later, just allow me 48 hours or 24 hours or 72 hours, whatever the number, right? So allow me 48 hours or give me the first right of refusal, basically, in layman's terms, so I can decide whether or not I can do something, or, oh, I don't want to lose the deal. This is a house. I'll continue pushing for sale the property, and I'll remove the condition. So that's basically what it means. Condition of sale of property. The buyer needs to sell a property, but you need to be fair at the same time with the seller, because you're tying up the property for several days, several weeks, right? Depending on the market, it could be the worst possibility. Sometimes if it's a decent market, if we have been moving along, the market has been picking up, and we have had good traffic, good activity, then yes, you can definitely do that. So the second part is the escape clause. Okay, I'm going to allow you to continue promoting the property, but just give me a few days if you consider other offer to whether remove my condition or just let the deal die. So basically, in essence, we've covered quite a bit of information regarding the offer process. If you have any specific questions about the purchase process, about conditions or anything like this as a home buyer, please feel free to contact me in the information below. All the description, under the description, is my address, my email address. You can contact me. You just feel free to just put some comments with any questions. I'll be more than happy to help you answer those. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode. This is Andres Usma with Blue Forest Realty. Until next time.